when we're not accessing joy and we're not feeling incredible, it makes it hard for us to be on purpose and do what we're here to do. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to the first episode of Business, Sex and Being Human, the podcast for 2023. And in this moment of recording, it is the 21st of January. We're just about to pass through the Chinese New Year, which is the year of the water rabbit, all about longevity, peace, and prosperity. We then have Australia Day coming up as well. The following week, another day of deep honoring. And then, of course, we have the school holidays, which complete at the end of January. So for me, in business over the past almost 5 years, on May 23, it'll mark the 5-year mark of me playing my own game of business, living the life of an entrepreneur. And over this time that I've been in business, we know that the actual year starts when the children go back to school. When we've moved through Chinese New Year, when we've moved through Australia Day, specifically here on this side of the world, and when we've finally got all of the children back to school, that's where we really get into our groove. The energy begins to pick up again after the Christmas season, which is always a challenging time for many people on various different levels, from an emotional perspective, from a triggers perspective, from a going inward and really having a look at things. And then we move through the new year, that moment in time where we hit the 1st of Jan and people like to set intentions. Not really the time to set intentions. People are still dealing with and processing the remnants and the experiences that they had the year before. And so what I've found in these 5 years of business is that the actual new year begins around February. And then we flow into, all of the other holidays. And it's a pretty slow start to the year. I've always found it to be quite a slow start myself. And where we are at the moment, really coming into this energy of this Chinese New Year, on the 22nd of January, being with these energies of the water rabbit, being with the themes of the water rabbit, longevity, peace, and prosperity, as I mentioned to you before. Keeping in mind that prosperity is an exchange. It's founded on mutual exchange, and where there is no giving, there is no receiving. And although when we give, and when we give from a place of purity, what we are to choose is unconditionality, to give without expectation. In saying that, though, to give without expectation and to constantly give and not receive anything in return is not a space of prosperity. It's not a space of mutual benefit, because there isn't mutual exchange. And so really looking at the place that you were in last year and reflecting on that space that you were in and the kind of journey that you went on. For me personally, it was very much a year of going inward. It was quite a dark year for me. I went into very deep, dark places within myself, reflecting on my most important structures in my world and my most important influences in my world. And in that space, I died a few deaths, and there were parts of myself that I was invited to let go of. Parts of the ideals and the ideas that I had of specifically my father and who my father is as a man. And this is something that I've been contending with for the past 20 years. And I've been looking deeply at my relationship with my father as he got custody of me when I was 2 years old. And he was my structure, he was my support, he was my main port of call, he was my main contact. And last year I had very deep reflections on our relationship. I don't have many conversations with my father. He doesn't have much of a relationship with my son. And this saddens me, and it saddened me deeply for many, many years. And last year, I went into a very inward space to have a look at where I was and how my views and my ideals of my father were impacting my life, how they were impacting my relationships, my finances, my energy levels, my vitality. And I went through a huge death last year. And I've just come out of it a few weeks ago. And it led me to this place that we go to when we start the year to reflect on what is the anchor point for the year? What am I focusing on? What are my intentions for the year? I don't know if any of you have chosen your words for 2023, that anchor point, that reminder of what is the energy, what is the focus that you want to have for the year ahead. If you haven't done so, I invite you to pass the time, especially as we're moving through this new Chinese year, and the energy is there for a while. So you've got time over this January to have a look and flow into February with intention and with focus. For me, this year is very much about self-love. And self-love for me is something that is actually quite structured. And it's got quite a bit of masculine energy to it because it requires devotion and it requires dedication and it requires not being knocked off your path of focus of whatever it is that you are focusing on. And yes, it's important to have focus, and it's also important to make sure that you've got all of the elements that you require to fill your soul, that the things that have you feeling good, that nourish you, that don't have you spiraling into old habits that don't serve you. And so if you haven't anchored into your word for 2023, I invite you to do so. Today's podcast is really a moment in time and an invitation to you to reflect on this year that's gone by and to be with the year that you would like to create for yourself moving forward. And so with the energy of the water rabbit, that energy of longevity, doing things for the long term, taking small steps to then create bigger results in the future that are sustainable, that have that energy of long term, not just these momentary experiences or these momentary actions that we take that have us feeling good for a short amount of time. This energy of prosperity and coming back to that exchange of a mutual exchange, not an exchange that feels like you're giving more and you're receiving less, or you're receiving more and you're giving less. It's about harmony. It's about balance. And then, of course, there's the element of peace. And one of my first values is inner peace. And so if something is taking me out of my inner peace, I know that it's not for me. It's out of alignment. And it's also an indicator of where there is more work to be done and where clearer decisions need to be made and where greater discernment is required. And so this episode is very much around the invitation of making sure that you've created the space to reflect, that you've created the space to get clear on what you're moving forward with. If there's anything that you are required to let go of, then now is the time. Now is the time to let it move out of your system. I've spent the past 2 nights really having these solid cries, these deep, deep cries of grief, of really coming into a space of letting go, fully letting go of no longer being interested in anything in my life that doesn't come with the energy of mutual exchange. I am such a giver and I have a great capacity to receive, which is something that has taken me many, many years to cultivate. And I'm now at a place in my life where I'm not interested in being in any sort of exchange that doesn't feel balanced. This doesn't bring longevity. This doesn't create prosperity, and it most certainly doesn't bring peace. And so with the year of the water rabbit, keeping in mind that these are the energies, we cannot have peace when we haven't taken the time to reflect on what's past and let go of what is no longer in alignment. And so invitation, invitation, invitation to prioritize yourselves and to get really clear on what your focus is for the year. My intention for this year in all relating fields, whether it be with human beings, whether it be with objects, whether it be with subjects, whether it be with concepts or money or anything 3D related and 5D related, anything that is in my relating field, the intention that I am bringing to everything that I bring myself to is pure, wholesome, committed love. This is the place that I am choosing to show up from this year. And so, what is your intention for the year? What is the place that you are choosing to show up from? What is it for you that is so clear that you know that when you fully immerse yourself in that space, you are going to fulfill yourself on all levels? For those of you who have been following me for a long while, you'll know that I'm a deep lover. I love to love. And one of the things that hurts me the most is when there is a barrier that is put in between me loving and me giving and me sharing and me experiencing. When there's a barrier that's put in front of me, it doesn't feel good. And this doesn't feel like a mutual exchange. It doesn't feel like a mutual exchange of giving and receiving. And we know that when a cup is full, and you try to put more water into it, it overflows. And so this is a beautiful place to be in. I love to be in the place of overflow. At the same time, though, if there is too much of anything and there isn't a space for it to flow into, so if you think of a river, and you think of a beautiful waterfall and all of the water moving down into a space, into the watering hole, an overflow is created and the water continues to move. Now, if there's no space afterwards for it to continue to flow, then it builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and it needs to find a place to go and can often cause destruction if the environment around it isn't an environment that can receive all of the water. So too much of anything is not a good thing, but overflow that has a place to go is a really beautiful way of being in the world. There's space for it to move and continue on. And so my question to you today is, where do you feel like you are giving too much? And where do you feel like you are receiving too much? Have you managed to get yourself to a place of balance? Or is there an energy of too much or not enough? With my intention of pure, wholesome, committed love for 2023, I'm also hyper aware that the energy that I'm bringing with that is more of my masculine. I went very deep into my feminine last year. I surrendered in a big way to this death that I was going through, to this idea that I had of how things were, and really allowed myself to come to the place of what is. And I was chatting to a beautiful woman in my life, a girlfriend of mine who's been in my world for probably the past 4 years. And we were having a conversation about being with the isness of the nowness. The isness of the nowness, not wanting things to be any differently, not expecting them to be different, not hoping for them to be any differently, accepting that things are as they are. And we can hope ourselves into oblivion. Nothing will change. Things are as they are, and accepting them as they are and being with them as they are. And what I've realized over this year is when we try to create a relationship or an idea or a project or a desire in a way that isn't fully real, because we're not allowing ourselves to accept what the reality is, nothing gets created. Nothing beautiful comes from that space. So, have you taken the time to reflect on your past year? Have you made peace with it? Have you let go of everything that is no longer serving you? Are you clear on the energy that you're moving forward with in 2023? Are you clear on your intentions for the year? Have you set your anchor word that is going to allow you, encourage you, support you, and enable you to commit to whatever your frame of focus is? Have you given yourself the space to envision what you desire for your life? We cannot spend all of our time creating plans and writing them down. They only happen when we take action and when we're in the practice of things. But if you don't create the space to get clear on the vision and to plan on what it is that you desire from a work perspective, whatever your soul's purpose is, whether you found that in a career or you're an entrepreneur, being clear on, okay, am I still here with my soul's purpose, or do I need to find it? Do I need to do the work to find it? What kind of mother do you want to be this year? What kind of father do you want to be? What kind of friend, brother, sister? What kind of person in community do you want to be? How do you want to relate to self and to others this year? What kind of energy are you bringing? So with this longevity and with this prosperity and with this peace, all of these energies of the water rabbit, are you feeling in alignment with those energies? Do you feel like peace is on the way? Do you feel like you are ready to focus on all that which will bring that sense of longevity? Are you ready for the prosperity? Are you ready to immerse yourself, to align yourself, to be in integrity with this law of prosperity, which is one of mutual exchange? Lots for you to ponder on, lots for you to reflect on, and most importantly, taking the time to honor yourselves and celebrate yourselves for everything that you achieved last year, everything that you discovered, the realizations that you had, the reflections that you have had throughout the year, the things that you did create. Really honoring yourself for all of that and honoring yourself for where you are in this moment and being with the isness of the nowness. These words that were brought to me by a past client of mine. And it's just so true. It's just so true. There is nothing more than what is. And we cannot hope for anything more than what is. Taking a moment to just be with, you might not be in a great place in this moment. I'm in a fucking fantastic place. I've started gymming is not a person. I've started going to the gym and I'm doing F45. I've never done anything like this in my life before. I can, these guns they're forming. This is 7 days of work. My body has changed so much just over the past 7 days, and I'm so excited to be back in my body because I haven't been for 18 months. If you've been following me for a while, you will know that I had been in a leg brace for quite a while last year and moments through the beginning of this year as well. And it's just so great to be back in my body and feel that strength and feel that power. And feel the building happening and feel the wobbles, any wobbles which are very relative to my last year. There were the wobbles, I wasn't in my body and I had one of my legs going and not supporting me. And it was a very, very confronting time. So I'm so excited to be back in my body, back to yoga, back to walking, back to, back in the bush, swimming. I've been running on the beach as well, which feels really good. And I'm excited that I'm in this place. When I saw a beautiful client and friend this morning as well, and we were chatting about how useful it is and how effective it is to just go right there. Go right there, go to the darkness, be in it, be in the uncomfortable moisture, smell the mold, feel like shit for a moment, be there, hit it, and then come out of it, and you don't have to revisit it in such a deep way again. And so to be out of that is so joyful. To have access to the joy again is absolutely incredible. Last year on the 11th of December, I went and saw an incredible kinesiologist. And on the 10th of December, when I searched for him, I was ready to access joy. You know, I'd done my 6 months of all of the depths of darkness, and I was ready to access joy. And so I went for this incredible 3-hour kinesiology session on the Sunday, which absolutely transformed my world and opened my heart and got me back into that space of just joy, because that's what I'm about. I'm an adventurer. I'm joyful. I love to play. I love to laugh. I love to have fun. I love to be silly. And yes, there is some serious shit that we do behind the scenes, and there's really important work that we do. And there is massive transformation that is happening in the world with the work that we do. And at the same time, we've got to have fun. And when we're not accessing joy and we're not feeling incredible, it makes it hard for us to be on purpose and do what we're here to do. So for those of you who have accessed joy and you're feeling incredible, I'm celebrating you and I'm there with you. For those of you who might not be in a great place in this moment, I invite you to come to a place of peace and be with what is, and allow yourself to continue on your process. And the process is the process. You cannot skip over it. You cannot override anything. There is no spiritual bypassing. There is no emotional bypassing. There is no nervous system bypassing. The process is the process. And when you are in the depths, it is necessary for you to meet your depths and to be with them and to allow yourselves to move through those emotions. Because when you try to bypass anything, you store them in your body, and this is how illness is created. This is how dis-ease is created. And so, although we live in a society that doesn't honor and celebrate people feeling deeply, I invite you to really create a world of safety where it is okay to feel deeply. Because when you do feel deeply and you allow those intense emotions to pass through you, you do not keep them in your system, and you move them out. You move them through. Energy in motion. Emotion is merely energy in motion. Allow it to move through you. Do not try to get a hold on it and stop it from flowing. This will not create any expansiveness in your life. So beautiful ones, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to a new season of the podcast. I'm so excited for the new producers that I have on board. I've got a beautiful team behind me of 3 incredible human beings who are here to support me. I'm feeling so loved and so supported as I move into this year. I have a new brand alchemist on board, so you'll see a whole bunch of new branding coming through as well. I'm just about to go for a photo shoot next week, Friday, which I'm really excited about, and just allowing myself to drop into my essence and really be with what Analogy Business School stands for. And we are driven by intuition, nature, and strategy. And the 2 most important pillars that I work with are integrity and self-love. And so I've given this gift to myself that although it is something that I focus on, and it is something that is at the core of the work that I do, I'm actually specifically choosing it to be my anchor point. And although unconditional love is something that I practice on a daily basis, one of the most difficult things to do, non-attachment, non-expectation, and total unconditionality is a great challenge for any human being to go on, and one that I'm game for. And so this is why I've set the intention for myself, for every relating field that I embark upon, to be pure, wholesome, and committed love. And I invite you all to get clear on what your year is about. 23 is my number for many different reasons. It is my life's work in Gene Keys. It is the day that I started my business in May. It's my parents' anniversary, and they have been married for 30 years now, and they have a beautiful love. And so much to celebrate there. So this number 23, it's also one of my beautiful girlfriend's birthdays. And so this number it's an important number to me. So I'm very excited about 2023, and I hope that you are too. And if you are not yet, soon you will be, after you've gone through your process, you've reflected, you've let go, you've got clear. This is when you'll bring the vitality back. I thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to tuning in with you very soon. Have a most beautiful transition into the year when your energy is right and picked up and good to go. I'm wishing you all of the beautiful qualities that this water rabbit is bringing, the longevity, the prosperity, and the peace. And let's bring the joy, let's bring the fun, let's bring the connectivity. For me, this year is going to be very much an outward year. After last year was such an inward year. And of course, with the balance that we have as women, specifically in that 30-day cycle of going inward and outward, of course, there's going to be inward energy. But I feel that there's a stronger, my masculine energy is really coming through, and I'm feeling so good to be back in my body and back in my power. So I will see you all very soon. Enjoy the process of reflecting, getting clear, setting those intentions. Until soon, beautiful one. Bye.